to Emotional Labor.
Emotional labor.
Emotional Labor, baby.
This is Alex and Halen. Emotional labor.
Hello. Welcome.
Welcome.
Emotional labor.
Well, I guess we don't have to
labor.
say that every time because
right.
we're going to have a little thing that says it for us.
I'm not used to it yet.
No.
I have to get used to that.
No,
intro being there
we're
for
brand
us,
new to
you know?
this.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The emotional
Happy
labor.
Ides of March.
Happy Ides of March. When this will be released.
Yeah. Happy pre-Ides of March.
Yeah, Ides of March. Thank
Do
you.
you have any Ides of March plans yet?
Ides of March is it like the around when spring happens?
It's
or?
the 15th? 14th or 15th?
Okay, I was saying it's near when COVID started.
Oh, yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, true.
COVID
and the Friday the
anniversary.
13th. Wow, what a
And
time
Friday
that
the
was.
13th. Yeah.
What a weekend.
Ides of freaking March. That is kind of permanently embedded. But the story of the Ides of March is being stabbed in the back by your friends. But you were kind of a,
But
why
you
don't
were
we just
kind of-
kill Caesar?
Kind of being a dick.
You were being a dick, yeah.
Were you ever really friends in the first place?
Do you think Brutus and Caesar were friends?
Do you think they kissed?
Probably. But I don't know if that means they were friends.
Well, frankly, it lends credence to the possibility that they weren't.
Definitely weren't.
Yeah, definitely weren't, actually.
What's a friend?
What's a friend?
This is what we were saying. There are different words for friend. What are friends? Friends. Okay, so what is a word for friend? There's friend, there's pal.
Please, not this
There's-
taxonomy.
Well-
oh no.
When I think about sometimes with how poly people work, and not necessarily hierarchically, but like there is a desire to label the genre of
Like, are we
intimacy.
buddies?
Buddies, there's one.
What's your buddy, guy?
That's your buddy guy. I got your guy, pal. I'm not your pal, man. I'm not your man, dude. Don't call me dude, bro. I'm not your bro, dad.
Yeah. And then they kiss.
Yeah, exactly.
And they go,
I guess bro is a friend.
is a bro a friend? Because sometimes bros are enemies.
That's true. This is what I'm saying.
They're context
Sometimes,
dependent.
well, frenemies. Would that be a frenemy?
Friends. How many of us have them? What's a friend?
This is what we were saying. There are different words for friend.
Yeah.
That I think are trying to describe a type of intimacy, right? Because you're also talking about how we're talking about how your friends will literally kill you.
Yeah.
But there's also frenemies,
Hmm.
which is sometimes the same thing, but not always. But then there's like your friend.
I mean, yeah, I feel like a frenemy is such a specific kind of category of relationship, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a sort of passive-aggressive, like, scorekeeping in a frenemy relationship that is, as you said, it's different from friends will literally kill you. Because in my experience, when friends kill you, it's not like we've been poking each other for years and then suddenly something... Like, that also happens. But, like, friends will literally kill you is usually like, I literally thought we were friends until this exact moment right now where you just did something so mean to me. I really thought we were friends, and now I guess...
We're not.
And maybe weren't?
Right. And is that just how friendship is? Of like...
No. No, Al. It's not
Well,
just like that.
I didn't watch the whole movie, but the bits I saw, the guys and the Banshees of
Inisherin.
Yeah. That was the concept of like, I just don't like you anymore. I woke up one day and decided I don't want to be your friend anymore. And it's like, okay, there's the reality that like if someone does wake up and decides that, then we're not. Like, what else is there to say, but I guess we're not really friends anymore?
Well, you should know, Al. You've said to somebody you can't not be my friend anymore.
I have done that before, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big impetus for, like, at least the way that we've talked about this historically, we've talked about it, for the framing, is that Spice video of, Mama always told me, friends no good for you, girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that very, honestly, like, body horror image of her with, like, scissors sticking out of her back. But that's
True.
how it is. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Your friends will literally kill you. You know what I mean?
Well.
But then was that really your friend? But then what is a friend?
But that's what I'm saying. What is a friend?
Okay, think about Friends, right? Like Friends.
The show?
Like, like Friends, right?
No. I don't
Okay,
want to.
like, think about it. Think about it. Are those people friends? Chandler and Joey are friends.
Chandler and Joey are friends. I don't think anyone's really friends with Rachel.
No.
Rachel? Yeah.
I guess Monica and Rachel are allegedly like the
They're
anchor
kind of
relationship, right? But they're frenemies.
though,
They're
right?
totally frenemies.
Because
Are you kidding
that's
me?
white women-
One's blonde and the
Yeah.
other one's not. Of course they're frenemies.
Exactly.
Of course.
I'm thinking about Buffy too. Like, sometimes Cordelia and Buffy are frenemies, but like everyone else is like friends, or it's like that seems to be what they're trying to say.
Well, it's okay. I mean, part of the problem of what we're talking about is that it's like both of these examples are not just fictional, they're specifically TV shows,
Oh,
which
right.
are, of all of the different kinds of media, the most kind of, I think, prone to the problem of like, there has to be more show. So if there's going to be more show, there has to be problems. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so
we
it's like,
have to create.
of course, the
conflict
friends on
from
friends aren't really
relationships,
friends, because if they were friends, then the show would be
Boring.
boring. The show
Well,
wouldn't be fun.
Slice of life is a type of anime.
That's true. Oh my god, Azumanga Daioh is a great slice of life
Yeah.
anime that is about friends and friendship. Now there is
Yeah.
a little bit of bullying going on. However, it's very lighthearted ribbing, I think.
Yeah,
I think it falls into the category of lighthearted ribbing,
Yeah.
pranking, you know,
Yeah.
fun mischief and shenanigans. And a lot of the drama comes from the fact that it's set in like a middle school.
Right.
So a lot of the drama comes from like the things that are dramatic about being a like middle school, high school student. Like there's one kid who's like it's like most of them are I think supposed to be around like 14 or 15 and she's like 11 or 12 and just like super skipped a bunch of grades, like very smart. Like he's the smartest kid in class, like but also is a literal child.
Aw.
And so that's a whole, you know what I mean? Like all of the
Yeah, it's a whole
different
type
fun
of
little
drama,
things that
yeah.
can come out of that dynamic of like, she's basically like the ultimate little sister, but also smarter than everyone else in class.
Aw.
So cute.
See, slice of life.
Slice of life.
No, but is it friendship? Is it so right? Okay, I'm thinking about like betrayal, right? Friends will literally kill you, like A2 brute. You killing me, damn.
Yeah, you're killing me.
But were you ever really friends? Like in that situation, it's like Caesar, you were the emperor. Like,
How could you possibly have friends?
How could you possibly have friends? And I think about it of like, is it friendships that kill us, or is it our attachments that kill us? You know, like that we like what we're in my personal life, as we've talked about. I once attempted to keep a friend who was trying not to be my friend anymore in this way that. The reveal actually should have been, well, if this person is saying they don't want to be my friend, even though it's shocking and reveals that this person didn't communicate effectively at all to, like, have a conflict about this, to, like, to just project that there was no way to...
Like, it's all
over without ever telling me, you know? It was one of those things where it's like, well, I want to fight for our friendship because I feel like if you had communicated this before building this narrative, this could have gone a little differently.
Right.
And also, you've been giving a lot of mixed signals. Like, doesn't that mean that, you know what I mean? So, but that the reveal is, like, actually, like, that just means I'm going to have a friend in my life who...
Doesn't talk to you. Doesn't communicate.
To me and think that's part of friendship.
Doesn't trust you.
And I think for me, the thing in that dynamic is thing that I think was part of friendship is that it is my responsibility to check in as, like, I should have noticed. You know, it, like, felt more than about my blind spot of, like, how didn't I know that this person felt this way? When, like... Actually, that's just a different value of what friendship is based on a different idea of, like, what it means to be close to somebody, you know? So it's like...
Well, that's the thing. I think the friends will kill you problem comes from specifically the kind of friendship that is, like, just really unearned, like, intimacy and trust that just, like... Like, I feel like people talk about that a lot with, like, whoever their, like, first... kind of like childhood best friend was or whatever, like the longest childhood best friend or whatever, where it's like there's someone you meet in middle school and you bond over whatever the fuck random arbitrary thing, and then at some point you realize like we're not the same people anymore because the thing that we bonded over was totally arbitrary and like Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that I'm like, wow, I really trust you with my life is not necessarily based on anything in your behavior or your character or shared values or our ability to communicate with each other. It's about proximity and it's about duration. And like, that's what makes us friends. Like, I'm literally thinking of Redacted right now and all of his quote unquote friends. Yeah. All of these like events that he goes to with people that he does not fuck with.
Yeah. And it's like,
at all. These are your friends? I'm going out to dinner with people I hate.
What?
Night out with friends. What?
I went through that tension too, like at end of college into like, you know what I mean? Where like exactly that of like I've been hanging out with these people for so long because of proximity, and I ended up coming back to school, and it wasn't like we weren't like part of it was we weren't totally unaligned, and a lot of it was workers, you know, who I also just happened to grow up in the same town with, like that isolation, but recognizing that it's like. Those were still not actually my friends when I started having, when I had more hierarchical views of what friendship was, which actually is...
Like MySpace top 8 hierarchical?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Right? Like this, like, kind of like, but while simultaneously this culture of like, oh, everyone's your friend, you know what I mean? Like, it's this very strange experience of friendship. Mm-hmm. But it's like, were those people my friends? Like, in some degrees, yeah. Like, in some situations, for sure. Like, these were people who we did, you know... But it's exactly that. Once you have the opportunity to be maybe basing your relationships less on proximity or just like the void that fills the time in capitalism, you realize it's like, oh, there's more to life than these relationships. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chasing down.
It's true.
Stacey Orico's.
She knew.
She fucking did.
Where is anybody listening?
She's a Christian artist. I saw her in concert.
Stop, of course she is. Yeah. Then chasing around these earthly highs.
Yeah. She was singing about the void of God. Mm-hmm. That's, it's, you know, it's sad how that gets exploited by these religious institutions. Right. But it is that thing of the... Is
that from BoJack? That thing of like, everyone has a hole inside them and they have to fill it with something and it's about what you fill your hole with.
Hole in all of us. The restless soul is searching.
Right. Are you filling it with God? Are you filling it with
drugs,
substances?
Sex,
right. Yeah, what is it? How do you fill the hole in your heart? That is the human condition.
But it's the relationship that you have, not to yourself in that narcissistic way, but like the relationship you have to understanding yourself inside the greater ecosystem of just like, I don't know, like that willingness to see yourself as part of...
Well, so here's the thing.
And also...
I feel like this is going to feel like a left turn.
No, take it left.
Let's go. We can always go further left.
We can always go further left.
So...
They'll keep going further right.
I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been thinking a lot about emotional incest and just like generally speaking, all of the different kinds of fucked up dynamics that exist in families, right? Yes. All the different fucked up ways that parents interact with their children and that the children interact with each other and that everyone's interacting and it's all fucked up.
Right.
And just thinking about like, so if you go to the subreddit, right, that's for like either there's like subreddits for people who are like raised by narcissists. I think is a pretty well-known one, even outside of like Reddit, because posts from there go viral every now and then for just like psychotic stories, horrifying stories, but yeah, that subreddit and similar ones, it's like you look at the posts and the vast majority, I think that's the vast majority, I haven't done the statistics, but a huge percentage of them are just people saying like, hey, here's like a bullet point list of things that I experienced. Does that count? Like, does this count as abusive? Was this not normal? Like, is it okay for me to consider myself traumatized by this? And like reading these accounts and just really thinking about like, it took me so long to identify anything about my like developmental upbringing as being unhealthy.
Yeah.
Or even once I did realize it was unhealthy, it was like, well, it's unhealthy, but it's normal. You know what I mean? Like, like, okay, that's, you know, it sucks, but it's in the spectrum of normal and expected for like, that's not like that bad. And I've just been thinking about that paradox, right? Of like, well, like, for example, I can't mentally think about like street harassment as being sexual harassment, because if I think about it that way, I will have a meltdown. Do you know what I mean? From how often I'm being sexually harassed through my day. Do you know what I mean? The like mental walls that are put up of like, I can't consider this thing this kind of violence because if I do, I'm gonna like die from how surrounded I am by it.
Right.
I feel like that has a direct correlation to this kind of friendship that we're talking about that's like, again, based on proximity and duration and like self-denial, right? Like just really like deeply being acclimated to the idea of like, I don't like these people, I don't respect these people, I don't think I share their values, but for whatever reason, I need them to like me.
Yes, right.
I need to be part of this group.
Learn in that familial context.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because of course your friendship stuff is related to your parents. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, your dating stuff's related to your parents. Everything you do is related to your parents. Sorry, it's called developmental psychology.
Yeah, and it's like, right.
And it makes sense that the first most important things that you learn as a little tiny baby of like, how should I expect people to behave and what do I need to do to stay alive?
Stay alive, yeah, absolutely. Right, and if that's the norm in that way, you find yourself with this quote-unquote ability to stick around in an environment that doesn't fulfill you.
Well, that's the beauty of human psychology is that it's so plastic, you know what I mean? It's very moldable and malleable. And that's a really, I think, effective mode of indoctrination because it relies on one of the most human sort of fundamental fears and anxieties of like social acceptance and exclusion and abandonment. But
and the tension of it the nuclear family is so isolating and society is so violent and isolating that, you know, that's the part that is like, we do need to rely on each other to survive. It's this like, but the nuclear family is like a false idea of togetherness. It's actually more isolating, like you're saying. It relies so much more on secrets, narcissism.
Again, if people thought about their families in the terms of the literal violence that is normalized in those families, I think for a lot of people, it's like, well, I can't do that because then I'll fall apart. Like, then I'll have to actually contend with the weight and the enormity of like, not only was that not cool that happened, but like, I mean, it's a weird thing to appeal to, like, was it normal, quote unquote? Well, because then, in this context, it's like, well, the thing that feels normal is to have a fucked up family, actually. Like, the thing that feels normal in our sociopath society is that you had a sociopath family in some dimension. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just recreated in friendships, and that's, like, a big part of doing work is supposed to be like the connecting piece in like familial work, right? Is like seeing how these patterns get replayed, to what degree and intensity do you shift them, do you understand your role in them, how can you alter. But exactly like you're saying, if your idea of friendship exists in this space that really you won't, what is your attachment to that? Like you're saying, those beliefs about relationships that you have to believe or
like
else
what is
everything
intimacy
will fall apart.
To you? What is it, what is the word, what is the idea literally of intimacy to you in any relationship? Because I think that idea of, again, the idea of like, I'm gonna go to dinner with all these people that I hate who are my closest friends, you know what I mean, who I'm like, I'm gonna be in their wedding party, like we're lifelong buddies that don't like or know each other, you know what I mean, like who don't actually experience a level of vulnerability that lets either one of them feel seen in that relationship. It's just so...
I definitely had that experience of being in someone's wedding as a maid of honor and being like
we're not friends.
We're not friends like that, but also it was the relative experience of I am your closest friend.
Right, which is also terrifying.
Exactly. It makes sense that you are asking me in your world, but like in my world, it's kind of like
I know that I'm your best friend, but like, you're not my best friend.
But this was also again this was a person who got married young. This was a relationship that we had been kind of codependent-y since middle school. It was like we were at that crossroads of like being around you actually puts me in situations that makes me feel crazy, and I'm realizing that like. I don't want to be in relationship. I have been pulling away from this relationship, and this person just kind of kept doubling down in these spaces in a way that I like, took me a while to get away from. But again, it was the thing of like, at the time when we were building intimacy was, we're two sort of neglected bad girls in middle school, like, in that we don't have any supervision. Like,
Right.
we can go do whatever the fuck we
I'm
want.
gonna talk to teenage boys.
And she was like, I smoke cigarettes, I talk to boys, I have sex. Like,
Oh my
we were
God.
doing, and I was like, I've been in youth group, but I have
doing
no
13.
supervision. We were doing 13 a little bit.
Yeah.
So we did that for a while. You know, and it was like, that's how I met my most abusive boyfriend. You know, it's like all these things that, like, in those spaces, which isn't her fault by any means, because it was a replication of our familial traumas. Like,
Of course.
That's just what it was, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of my best friend from middle school where, like, it's funny because I think if you asked me in a certain headspace, I might say, like, yeah, I think this person and I would still be friends today if we had the opportunity to, like, reconnect and maintain a relationship. But I remember the last time that we hung out with each other, at least I think it was the last time we hung out with each other, which was after a long time of having not seen or communicated with each other.
Yeah.
It was like, I remember at one point just like reminiscing, you know what I mean, about like elementary, middle school years, and saying something about like basically realizing over the course of this conversation that I was like, in my retroactive memory of those years and our relationship, I remember us as being a lot more similar than it sounds like we were. Like, so even to whatever extent we're similar now as grown adult people, like, there are things that I took for granted as being stuff about us at the time that we were friends that, like, and specifically stuff around, like, I was like, yeah, we were always getting into, like, trouble for, like, not participating in PE and, like, not doing homework stuff. And she was like, well, no, like, I got in trouble for, like, the homework stuff. Like, we got in trouble for the PE thing. That is true.
Right.
But, like, but it was, like, my recollection was, like, yeah, like, you and me were a unit, and we experienced everything together. And that she was like, no, we didn't. And I was like, oh, well, okay. So, what does that mean about what my understanding was of our relationship, you know?
Yeah.
Like, was there something in that relationship? I mean, obviously there was something in that relationship that neither one of us had language for, and I didn't have, I think, the social awareness to even perceive, because I think we were genuinely friends and we did get along and we spent a lot of time together, and also, I don't know, I think there was some kind of, like, because I was like the, like, shy goody two shoes, and she was like the problem kid, you know what I mean? Like, rowdy kid.
Rowdy.
I was like, yeah, we were rowdy. And she was like, you were not rowdy. And I was like, no, you're right, I wasn't rowdy at all. I wasn't really rowdy. I wasn't rowdy.
I wasn't really rowdy. Damn, you wanted to be rowdy.
I wanted to be rowdy. I was aspirationally rowdy.
Yeah.
I wasn't really rowdy.
Rebellious spirit.
I was too scared of my mom to be rowdy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, no. Not really.
No.
I was rowdy. I was not scared of my mom in that way.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, so even thinking about that, because we were friends, I should say also that it's like we were friends for a period of, like, our early adolescence, and then I think around, like, 14 is when I moved away. We, like, totally lost touch. Do you know what I mean? So there's also an aspect of that relationship where it's like it was frozen in amber in a certain way, and then to revisit it with, like, adult eyes and be like, oh yeah, actually I can see how that was more complicated than my child's brain was really
Able to
considering. Especially, I was like, yeah, we were both, like, you know, like, scholarship kids who were, like, one of the, like, few, like, broke kids or whatever, which was, again, these things were literally true, but I think
the way you understood them,
the way we experienced them, because it's like that was true, but also the neighborhood I lived in and the neighborhood that she lived in were very different.
Very different. But what is it when a friend can kill you?
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, like, she never tried to, but she could have killed me if she wanted to. You know what I mean?
Please. She could have.
Like, I think it's like, you know, like, I think we, because what it is on a certain level, like, the friends will literally kill you phenomenon is because when you are in intimacy with somebody, it's like handing them a big knife and being like, okay, don't stab me, like, no, please don't stab me, which is, like, you know, I think admirable or whatever. I'm like, literally, I feel my heart, like, I'm like nauseous.
Racing,
I'm like,
thinking about intimacy.
But no, the phenomenon of yeah, just when I think that's what I mean by like the unearned intimacy and like loyalty and trust, right? Where it's like you mistake proximity and
Yes.
duration for intimacy.
Right.
So then you reveal a whole. It's like handing a knife to somebody because you're like, we're friends. You're like, I know you. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
oh no 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 no.
No.
I don't know you at all. Like I really don't know you at all, and I'm giving you a level of like, you know,
Access.
yeah,
that
you
is
could really
like, you
hurt
could
me.
really hurt me.
And I didn't really think about what the consequences of that were. And I feel like in my romantic relationships, especially as like a woman who primarily dates men, that was so obvious to me from jump of like, well, of course this relationship
Right.
is categorically adversarial, and on some level
Right.
I need to be on the lookout for the idea that you could really hurt me, and like any intimacy that we have could lead to some horrible kind of violence. But in my friendships, and especially my friendships with women, it was like I just took for granted that,
Yes.
yeah, like, oh, you're anyone who's not a man, I just take for granted that, okay, we can have a relationship that's based on our class solidarity of not being men, you know?
Oh my god.
It's not like that.
No, and friendship breakups just hit different. They're just a different kind of. I don't know. I also feel like yeah, friends can. I had a lot of friends who were bullies, so thinking of.
Wow.
I know, and I was a little bit of a bully.
You're
for
a
sure.
mean girl, Katie.
But I was actually I was more of the like not bully sidekick to the you know what I mean? The bully's like.
You were the
'Cause I think it's fun. I'm like, you're stupid.
you were
silly,
what's
you
her
know.
name? Not Gretchen, but the third one who was just like there.
Where? In what?
Mean Girls.
Oh, Mean Girls. Yeah.
The Amanda Seyfried one.
Literally, it's a 50%
Like, hi,
chance
I'm
outside
here.
it's already raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love her.
Right. Just a little naive, but especially growing up, which I feel like has been my like bitterness of this thing of like, yeah, your friends will kill you. Of like, oh, like this like false intimacy idea of like someone saying that they're your friend means if they do something that's not friendly, they don't mean it. They are trying to, it's like this is a space where you can be unfriendly and be forgiven,
Right.
or work it out or something.
It's quote unquote safe space. It's not a safe space. It's not a safe space at all.
Space. No, but that is obviously a reflection of familial life, and it's like to the extent that is understood and sublimated in people's relationships, because I just think it's silly. I don't hold the expectation that I just like will never be in that kind of dynamic in that way. I mean, I won't be in the abusive way, or I'm definitely much more like, no, I'm aware of these dynamics, but it's like, can we talk about these dynamics? Because like, if it happens or what happens, or I don't know. But yeah, this idea that intimacy is about that and being okay with that and not realizing that until you friendship end and you're like, whoa, this person didn't care about me, or was scapegoating me, or like I was
or cared about me for the wrong reasons. Like wanted me in their life for the wrong functions.
Yeah, like
things I did not want to sign up for. Yeah.
Right, the wrong functions, this fundamental thing of like, oh, you don't see me.
I mean, the number of times I've realized in conflict with somebody, like, oh, I mean, kind of like what you were saying about the wedding you were in, of like, oh, I'm your closest like black friend, and we're not friends. Like we are not friends, and I'm the black person that you like know best in your life. If you ever say the words "I have a black friend," you're probably talking about me, and we don't talk. Friends. Like we're not friends.
Woof. Yeah, it's like almost parasocial.
It is literally parasocial.
Yeah.
They're fucking fans.
It's fans.
You're a fan.
Or that what is it? It's like with proximity, but transient trust of like, oh, you're friends with this person, and me and this person are friends, so that means we're all friends.
But no, I think the point though of it being like objectifying is useful though, because I think that's also part of what it makes parasocial relationships function the way that they do. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a fan relationship because there's a level of like you're not a person, you're a thing. Yeah,
like what is it?
You're this thing that I love to consume. Like
like why do you want to tell people that we're friends? In this way that is like, do you think about what that means? But yeah, I feel like, again, growing up in such a Christian culture, there is a level of like, everybody is together and loves everyone, which is just so like, no, I don't like any of you people, but it also so created this like naivete of like people are trustworthy and
Right.
you can just hand them the knife after knowing them for it's like what are actually
a fellow
the things,
Christian.
a fellow
That's
Christian,
all I need to know.
right? Like what are actually the things that let you know that someone is trustworthy, that and it really doesn't actually have a lot to do with duration per se. Like yes,
No, I mean a lot of it just has to do with like white supremacy and
yes,
yeah.
exactly. I'm thinking about that too,
Patriarchy.
like white culture of like we're all good here, we're all friends,
we're
we
all part of
have to
one
be
big club,
friends.
yeah.
I have to be liked,
yeah. But then, I think about the like genuine and very like positive like friendship relationships that I had, especially when I was an adolescent, right? It's like as an adult I can attribute a lot of the goodness, like quality of my relationships to the fact that it's like, yeah, I worked through a lot of stuff in my 20s that I think led me into a place where I could have relationships that are more like ones I actually want. But
yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
as a teenager, like I feel like I lucked into a very genuine relationship with my bestie, whose wedding I'm going to be in.
Nice. Yeah.
Who is, it's like our friendship was very genuinely based on like some of the most creative gift giving that I've ever received or done for anybody in my life, do you know what I mean, has been in that relationship. And there was a level of like comfort, familiarity, acceptance, etc., that felt really, again, genuine and earned and not just a byproduct of like, we have the same hobby and
right. We like the same thing.
have the same homeroom.
Right.
So I guess we're friends. Like
we have no choice but to be friends.
I was also, I mean, for not for nothing, I think I was kind of insulated from like I don't think I had a lot of experiences of being friends with people that I didn't like. I definitely had experiences of being friends with people who didn't like me and not realizing at the time.
Yeah.
But I didn't have very many experiences of like hanging out with somebody and being like, I really don't like you, but I feel like I have to hang out with you all the time. Mostly because I was really socially isolated. And so the effort that it took to like spend time with anybody, do you know what I mean? Like the effort it took to have a relationship with anybody at all, it was like, no, this is an effort that will only happen if there's something positive moving me in this direction. Because otherwise, we have AOL.
Chat, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Hit me up.
I can get my social needs met elsewhere, okay? I'm going to be on RuneScape. I'll be on Neopets forums, okay?
Yeah. I feel like I had a lot of experiences of being in spaces I didn't want to be in to be around people I liked. Like that I did genuinely like. But then also, yeah, the transition of the realization of it's beyond, it's actually just this proximity. And the things we used to like, I don't like them anymore. Like you're saying in your relationship, it's like, it's not just these basic hobbies and this like,
oh my god, there's a bunch of stuff that we don't have in common. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like her favorite thing in the world is Star Wars, and I literally hate Star Wars. And that's the running gag of our relationship is that I'm like, your thing is lame and stupid, and I hate it. Like,
But
I love you. I love it for you. Like,
yeah.
whenever we talk, I'm like, anything new happening in Star Wars world? You know what I mean? Like, I love to listen to her talk about her dumb thing that I hate because that's a friendship. We like each other. We actually like each other. We like each other for real.
Right, because it's like if you can only be friends with people on some aesthetic level about
it's like are we like
that.
each other?
Are
you the right kind of person?
Yeah, and it's like how are you? Because there's clearly a way that you all are like each other in that, or not like each other, but like get on together. You know, your energies do match in a way that is like, yeah, that has nothing to do with what our hobbies and interests are. It's about the way we
like
connect.
our personalities. You know what I mean? Like I'm a very like. She's a very self-professed, kind of like shy, or not. She's like sociable, do you know what I mean? But not just not the kind of person who's ever going to be like putting herself in front of a camera on purpose,
right?
Necessarily. Although she did
recently do that.
She did recently do that, and it was really exciting because she was like, "This is something that's really like outside of my comfort zone or whatever." And we were talking about it. And she was like, "And I thought of you," and I was like,
"Oh my god."
But like, for the majority of the time that we've known each other, you know what I mean? It's been like. Yeah, there's a bunch of things that we don't have in common, do you know what I mean? But there's like also, as you said, obviously we have something in common because there's this connection between us. I mean, I could say the same thing about our relationship. I think so many things that you like are stupid.
I mean, yeah, you hate The Sopranos.
And, I mean, Lana is complicated, but like...
I mean, because I'm like...
I hate that you ever liked Lana, yeah.
C'est la vie.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
We
You
all
can never
have
wash that
things.
stain away, sorry.
It's okay. It's it's fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you just make your peace with it and you move on.
And it's not like, and it's like there are things that you have interest
you live, you learn.
that I don't share or like can't engage in the same way. Like, but it's not like I don't care about it or we can't talk about it or that I'm like, you know what I mean?
Well, so this is another genre of friendship, though, which is that I'm a figment of your imagination. So that's like a different kind of relationship that I feel like needs to be talked about differently. Do you know what I mean? Like, are the narrator and Tyler Durden friends?
Definitely not.
They're not friends?
They are not friends.
But they love each other. They're obsessed with each other.
They're obsessed with each other. That was some obsession, I want what you have thing. That was a projection of, like, all my insecurities.
It's single white female for boys.
Yeah, exactly. That movie is so good. So
I know,
campy.
and people don't get it. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy watching it with, like, my adult eyes and being like, I can't believe that this was ever... I can't believe the community of people who have claimed this movie have claimed this movie. That's crazy. Like,
right,
it's making fun of you, bro.
I mean, they can't.
It's making fun of you. Don't get it?
What's it like to be a bro? That's one of the things I think is funny about, like, stereotypically, like, cis guy relationships is this idea that they do not talk about their lives at all.
Mm-mm.
They just talk about whatever interest,
whatever hobby they have in common. Yeah,
maybe they make music together or something.
Either their hobby is like women or sports or hobby or
that's
job
like,
or
right. Like there's like that level of like super stereotyped, and then but it really is like, wait, you don't know anything about this person's girlfriend, you don't know anything about this person's like job, their inner world. Like it's so like, huh?
Yeah, like I think the even just the idea of like, I mean, I think it's a phenomenon that, and especially women who date men because of gender.
Right.
That experience of like, I'm dating this person and I'm realizing immediately that I'm the only person they talk to about anything. Like, and not just in this moment, I'm the only person they talk to about anything, but like historically, do you know what I mean? Just the realization of like, oh, I'm the only one blazing a new trail, you know what I mean? Through unexplored territory of your inner world that you haven't even thought about.
You've never thought about, which is sad because it's also the reality of like, well, no one's ever shown it to you.
No, people have actively discouraged you from exploring it. And made it impossible to access comfortably, which is sad.
So sad. It's just hard to be the first one for people in that way.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. You have to be, it's like in some levels, that's what intimacy is like exciting about intimacy. Is like, oh, there's some part of our experience that will be the first for both of us, hopefully. But it's like, what part can I do that about? You know, there's like something that is like, I can't do that with you. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? It's like I'm overdoing that genre of relationship.
Well, but that's the thing is that, again, I think that's something that's a lot easier to identify in dating stuff because you're looking for it when you're dating. But I think in friendships, it's a lot easier for that to slip under the radar because... whatever, we're just friends, we get along, and you don't really think about, like, what is the function of this friendship for both of us? What are the expectations of this friendship for both of us? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm right in the middle of a friend project right now. I'm really trying to make a friend. I think it's going very well. I think it's going pretty well.
Yeah, making a new friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've hung out several times. You know what I mean? We text. I think we're friends. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and I've had experiences over COVID where I've tried to make friends and like... It's hard and these things come up that that are like orange-ish red flags. And I'm like, woof, I actually didn't like that and I don't know you enough to like have the conflict about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Either. And then I just put some time, like I did that with this person, I kind of ghosted, which I feel, but I need to get better. But also it's the thing of like, but I don't know you.
Yeah.
It would actually be a lot to confront you about this.
Because we don't know each other.
But living in Baltimore is sometimes this experience of, well, I'm going to see you, so I don't want it to be bad. But like, we didn't go that deep, but it just was this experience of maybe we don't see the world in a way that I don't know if I can work. I don't know if I can work this out with you because I'm not like strong enough to do this. But like something about what you're saying is not something I can vibe with.
Well, but here's the thing. I remember I went on like 2 dates with this guy once. And like our second date ended really weirdly. And I was like, I didn't love that. Like, not great.
Yeah.
And so he like texted me to ask me out again. And I was like, yeah, I just like didn't really like, I wasn't really into how our last encounter together ended. Like, I don't think this is working out. And he was like, oh, but like this is what the dating process is like learning these things about each other or whatever. And I was like, are you fucking crazy? Like, we've known each other for 5 minutes. What? Why would I not take this as like, oh, okay, cool. Within 5 minutes, you've revealed to me information that makes me think that we probably shouldn't continue to get to know each other. Like, I feel like there is a way in which the desire to be like you said, it's like, I hear you saying like in you hearing you talk about it, it feels like there's a level, just maybe a twinge perhaps of guilt for like, should I be willing to go through this conflict with this person?
Right.
Like, should I be more,
exactly
open-hearted? And I think the reality is like, no,
Yeah.
you shouldn't, because it's not actually being open-hearted. It's setting yourself up for big
some
failure.
weird
No one's getting their
exchange.
needs met in
Yeah.
that situation.
Yeah, and sometimes deciding, because again, it's like we didn't go that deep, but it's like deciding. But I did, it's a level of like, I do think they didn't deserve to be I think ghosting was probably not
Sure.
the right move, but it is that experience exactly of like, man, I don't know. I think I would, like, what is the exchange going to be? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I love avoiding certain kinds of conflict. There's certain kinds of conflict I love having, and then certain kinds of conflict that I'm like, not to sound like a Libra moon, but I'm like, there's two kinds of conflict. Like, the kind that I'm willing to talk about and the kind that I'm not. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And I guess that is what the friends will literally kill you thing, right? Like, part of avoiding and ghosting is like, I can't deal with.
Have you ever killed a friend?
Oh, I'm sure.
Have I ever killed somebody?
I think I like ruined friendships in like high school, middle school for sure.
I mean, there's definitely people who would, I think, describe me as a villain in their story. Surely.
Sure.
But I don't know about that particular type of relationship, because I do think, except for like one really notable exception in college, for the most part, my like best friend defying strategy is like to have best friends that are not, again, we don't have a lot in common in those like superficial ways, because actually I think that can make for stronger relationships, because any amount of competitive like edge, or do you know what I mean? It's like softened and dampened by the fact that it's like, we're not like, the person who hurt me the most in like a platonic friendship relationship, it was in a situation that was so clearly like, it's because you perceive us as being competing for the same spot. You can perceive us as being in the same lane, and you don't like having to share that lane. And so, again, I'm not saying that happens all the time necessarily, but I do think that there's like a healthy, and I think it's true for relationships too, like there's a healthy acceptance of difference that's like a lot easier when it's like, we're not trying to do the same thing. I'm not having this built-in level of like, I can compare myself to you really directly. Like really, really directly. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It is that experience of like, that's why I guess people who like work, friends who make art together, who are like friends, it can be tricky, Fleetwood Mac.
True. Messy.
Messy.
White stripes. Messy.
Messy.
Yeah.
It's a lot to be able to do that. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've like killed, like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
well,
redacted.
it's like, what is betrayal? I mean, betrayal is such a, what does it mean to betray? To betray.
To betray. Yeah, I've just had so many betrayal endings of relationships that are so ridiculous and dramatic.
I can really only think of like a couple of times, like the violent friend breakup that we experienced together. Is probably only the second or third like violent friend breakup that I think I've had lifetime. Like I had the one in college.
Yeah.
And it might just be those. I mean, now granted, those two experiences, huge. Like, you know what I mean? It was 0 to 1,000.
Yeah, that one.
Very abruptly, both times.
Yeah, and that one is very your friends will kill you all around. It was so like,
oh my God, this like, you're using exactly the things that you know about me to like turn the screw as much as you possibly can. That's crazy. Why are you, so was that what you were doing the whole time, was like writing down stuff that you could like weaponize at a later date? That's crazy. I thought we were friends.
I thought we were friends.
Why'd you heart the message?
Woof. Yeah, again, it's this reality, though, of, like, damn, this humility of, like, I was so emotionally immature in many ways, because how did I experience friendship like this? Like, I hear some peers talking now, and they're a bit younger than me, but I, like kind of sadly see aspects of myself in them in this way that I'm like, oh my god, is that my voice? Like, was I really that blinded?
Is that what I sounded like?
Yeah, like, not totally, like, because there's just, like, there are some really stark differences, but it's just some things of, like, these things that are accepted socially in people, as particularly in white communities, of, like, how whiteness functions in intimacy.
Like, conflict is not allowed.
Conflict is not allowed, and really violent, weird things just, like, happen in this way that is just, like, normal, in a way that I, like, have empathy for, because it's, like, I understand it, of, like, I didn't recognize what was happening as, like, anything to be, like, bright-eyed about, because of the environment I grew up in. It was just, like, regular, you know, this is, what do you expect?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think if everyone really had to accept not just how violent their families' communication were, but also the reality of all the people in their life, like everyone you know, and also all the relationships that you had, all the intimacy that you shared with other people has also been in the context of, like, the vast majority of them having fucked up families in some capacity. Yeah. I can think of a very, very small, possibly just one or two people who have, like, not necessarily perfect, do you know what I mean, but functional relationships with their parents that are, like, supportive and, like, whatever, not terrible. But I think a lot of people, even who superficially have good relationships with their parents, don't actually.
It's the reality of, like, what do you concede to maintain the connection to your parents? And why? And I can have empathy for the reasons people do that, because it's like, we do still live in a society. Like, the backdrop is not, like you're talking about, how we raise children is atrocious. How we treat adults is
things that we normalize.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we get to the place where we're like, actually, children should be raised in communities that aren't cults, you know? Like, it shouldn't ever be just two adults' responsibility to take care of a child. That's absurd. Yeah. It's such a huge ask when you think of what the experience of being alive can be. Like, that's when people talk, like, people being mothers and being like, you just give your whole life to it in this way that then becomes somehow intrinsic to the state of being a mother, when it's actually just intrinsic to motherhood in capitalism. Right. It's like, no, like, being a mother is just... You don't have to, you know, but then how do you play with that when the reality is you are in capitalism? I don't know. How do you have friends when you are in capitalism? Have a real friend. Yes.
Can you have a real friend?
Yeah, but it is...
How? In 5 steps.
5 steps.
Step 1.
On having a real friend.
Step 1, figure out who you are. That's probably the longest
step.
You
have to know your values, your boundaries.
Probably some sub-steps.
What are you about? Like, what are you protecting? What are you creating?
You've got to do the needs, wants, boundaries workbook that I have on my website.
Link drop. You do. Because that is the other thing. If you don't know that, about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Friendships then become wells you pull that from, because you don't have it in you. Right. You're a bloodsucker. You know, it's like you have to have your own life, or you just surround yourself with people who either don't have a, you know, like you play the same script. You know what I mean? It's like you have to be aware of that shit.
Again, a thing that I think I have definitely thought and probably said to people that I've dated, but not, again, took for granted in a lot of my non-romantic relationships, this idea of, like, I know too much about your relationship with your parents to ever think that you're going to be able to have a good relationship with me. Not your historical relationship with your parents, your current relationship with your parents. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I see how your interactions with your parents are today, right now, and that tells me everything I need to know about what it's going to be like to be in intimacy with you. Maybe not right away.
But eventually.
Because that is so... It's like, okay, well, if you can't... I don't know. Especially, I'm just thinking about Redacted, who went on like a family vacation to like a Caribbean island and was like, I'm miserable. I hate it here. I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, they're that bad? But also, I'm like, they probably are. They're rich.
They probably
are exactly that bad. Yeah.
And that's like the hell of that lifestyle. Tragic. Is like
you're crying on the beach.
You're crying on the beach.
You're
around.
Into your margarita.
You can eat as much as you want. You can drink as much as you want. The bed is soft. The sand is hot. Exactly.
You have as many cheddar biscuits as you want for your entire life.
And guess what? It's miserable because it's like, what do people concede to be able to have those things? It's not. You don't just get to have those things. You know, like you have to become a person who is able to possess those things, and that is something to really consider.
Yeah. Something to consider.
And I think friendship is a huge part of that, because who you are is also who you are around, because I think part of being human is that you want to connect to the people around you. Just even, like you're saying, the proximity thing of like, you'll find a way, though, because social creatures, and if you don't...
We need it.
We need it.
We are literally, like, insofar as anything is innate, you know what I mean? Like, the way that human brains are set up, and nervous systems are set up, and bodies are set up, is to, like, literally we have cells in our brain that, like, when we look at someone else experiencing something, are like, you're experiencing this right now. Like, that's crazy. Like, we have this entrainment, you know what I mean? This thing of, like, falling into a rhythm with the things around you, which as an evolutionary strategy makes sense. Did I tell you that I'm planning a new workshop called Why Am I Like This? And it's just going to be about, I'm framing it as like understanding the human animal, right? And just being like, okay, here's generally speaking why people feel things and why some of those things seem paradoxical to what you're psychologically experiencing. Do you know what I mean? I think a big place where, at least in my own life, I have caught myself asking that question is around like intimacy and friendships as part of that intimacy. Like, I think I didn't have very many relationships that were, you know, we're friends but we're not. Right. But what that means is that I didn't have a lot of relationships. Like the trade-off of that was like, I have like rock solid boundaries and the fence is very high and very few people are inside of it. Because that's what happens when you build a fence very high. Yeah. Right. And it is sort of the, yes, to be able to... But also, friends will fucking kill you. So it was protective, actually. It's protective. And I'm like, and especially as the world gets more and more... It's both the thing of, like, the world is the way now that... I mean, it always is, but it's like, okay, you need other people, like you're saying. I had few relationships, even if they were strong and trusting. There is the aspect of, like, I want or need or desire more. I don't know. And... because we're social animals, or different new experiences of social relationships. Yeah. And it's like how to develop those when intimacy and relationships, especially in capitalism, are so exchange-based, are so, like, easy to be exploited by resentment and, like, just the lies people tell themselves. And then it is revealed because they couldn't, and it's like, I mean, you didn't even tell yourself, so I don't know even who to be mad at right now. Right. Yeah, like, it sucks. But then I think about, because also part of what we're talking about, though, is that, like, there is a spectrum of friendship. Like, there's this kind of friendship that we're talking about in this exact moment is a very intimate kind of friendship that I think, when I think about the question of, like, how do you make those relationships, it does just kind of feel like you can't make those relationships happen. They happen to you. Like, it's, you meet people who you have a shared reality with, and you happen to, like, connect on those things, and it is sort of inexplicable, and again, relies a lot on just knowing yourself enough to recognize that connection when it's made. Yes, you have to be so committed to, like, your... Just being honest about who you are. Yeah. You have to be so committed to that, because, like you're saying, then you won't... I'm not law of attraction in that way, but it is kind of one of those things of, like, you're not going to be able to be in relationship with people who are emotionally immature to an extent, because you'll just be like, I can't handle this here. Yeah. I can't be here. Well, this is a metaphor that exists in the tarot, I think, very visibly, of, like, the two of wands kind of, like, figuring out where you're going, and then the three of wands going there, and then the four of wands, the people that you meet when you're going the way that is authentic to you. It's like, I agree. I'm not very law of attraction-y in that way, but I do think it's true that if you are acting more in alignment with the person that you like believe yourself to be, then of course you're going to end up in the places that where the people you want to meet are, because that's where they'll go. Like the place that you want to go is the place that people you want to know also want to go.
Exactly.
And the idea that you have to like restrict yourself in order to find the like I have to know the right way to like fit myself into a box to have that kind of relationship, when it's like actually the precise opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Because you'll also meet people along that path, right, who are, again, not people who are aligned, but for some reason you are crossing paths. And that is the part of the process of the commitment. You can't just be like, well, I know I just did this whole thing where I believed in myself and had this thing and da-da-da, but now you're here, so I'm going to change everything? You know, it's sort of like this thing of like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, like, you have to stay committed to what you're doing, and that's how you create friendships where you don't feel like you have to do the thing of like, okay, well, how do I make myself be able to do a thing that is actually, like, incongruent to maybe being in a relationship with somebody?
Yeah, and I think going back to the idea of like a spectrum of friendship, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's I think a really deep kind of friendship
Yes,
to be at that
exactly.
standard that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think there's also a spectrum of like sociality.
Oh yeah.
That's like, yeah, it's also important to have friends who are not people who know you most intimately at your core, but are people who you like hang out with.
Well, like coworkers, right?
Get stuff done with, people that you collaborate with, or you know, have some kind of relationship with that teaches you something or helps you grow. Like, there's all kinds of really wonderful and beautiful relationships to have out there that do not rely on being like, here's a big old knife that you can use to chop me up into little pieces. Like, you don't have to be that intimate.
No.
You don't have to give that much of yourself away in order to have a relationship with somebody of any type. You know what I mean?
Yes, you can have that boundary. You can have those few people in your inner circle.
Right.
And then, like you're saying, then you have people who you co-work with.
People you
collaborate
know.
with.
It's nice to have people you know. It's lovely to have... I mean, the best career advice that I ever got was that you should do the thing that people you love to do. Like,
yeah,
you know, you should do something that attracts the kind of people that you want to hang out with.
Love, yes. But it's the belief that you couldn't be the person that you admire and love.
That you couldn't be near that, or you had nothing, you know, nothing to offer.
Or that you could only be in proximity to it, and then you resent other people around you for doing the thing that you're not doing because you are... But there's also, like, intersections to why one might feel that way, obviously, but it's still, like,
Well, sure, it's not as easy as, like, why don't you just get a job off the job tree where jobs grow? Yeah.
Exactly. Friends.
But yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to making that, like, lower order of friends, that's where the advice of, like... join a book club, or, like, you know, join a social hobby. I mean, I obviously am always going to advocate for D&D.
Yeah.
Although I guess not exactly D&D anymore, because that's hashtag controversial.
Why? What do you mean?
It would take its own episode to go into it, but basically, blah, 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 legal stuff, blah, 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 corporation, blah, 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 boo. We hate her. So we are not sitting with D&D anymore. Friendship with D&D over.
Whoa.
New best friend Pathfinder.
I heard a lot about Pathfinder.
Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't gotten into the Pathfinder system yet, because I just started a new game with folks who are brand new to RPGs, and they just started with 5e, so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to switch things up on you 3 or 4 sessions in. There's no need for that. But I do think my next games will probably be not D&D, just to explore, you know, rightfully so, the other wonderful diversity of TTRPGs that exist in the world. And because the thing that I love about D&D is that it's like, it is the theoretically perfect game for social emotional wellness. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's a social, collaborative, imaginative game that's like, you know, encourages complex, like, types of problem solving, different kinds of problem solving. Like, there's a type of sort of, like, there's a catharsis that comes with acting things out, or like, you know, be inhabiting a character that's not yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's also the kind of like dialectical nature of like, it's like, well, how do you win a game of D&D? You don't. Like, winning a game of D&D means you have a fun time with your friends. So that can involve like we lost and everyone died. Like, that can still be part of, I told a fun story with my friends. And that's a wonderful thing about D&D. But within that, it's like, that's what I love about D&D, but D&D is a very specific system for doing that thing. And I think it has become synonymous with, like, tabletop role-playing games.
Right. Yes, for sure.
Which then I think artificially pushes people out of the hobby who would otherwise be interested. Like, I feel like we've talked about this, where you've had a lot more fun playing, like, the one-page RPGs that are, like, way more bare bones in the rules and are more about, like, doing one-shots and more about, like, like, what can we do to get...
rules for that. It's like a puzzle or something.
Right, like, things to... How do we get into this as quickly as possible? And, like, I remember I played one called Dinosaur Island, where it's like you're on an island full of dinosaurs and you have to get off the island. That's it. And everything else is like you figure out things in between. And I played that twice, and the games were so different. And again, it's like a very simple kind of template, because you don't need a lot for a tabletop role-playing game to happen.
Yeah,
like, arguably you could just sit around a table with your friends and
bullshit
and make make things up together, and that's a RPG. Like, that's, you're playing a game. You know, the benefit of mechanics is that it gives it a little less, like, arbitrariness.
No, exactly that. There's something it's that D&D has become like Kleenexes to tissue, you know. Right. That there's the intimidation of it, when actually role-playing games are so vast.
Like, it's not the best, like, it's just the, I guess, most popular. Has the most brand recognition. Thanks, Stranger Things.
Literally. Brought it back. Well.
But you know what? It made it sexy, so I appreciate that.
We do love sexifying role-playing games. Right. Because it opens the door for other things.
It's good for you. It's a good hobby to be in. I mean, again, all of this is predicated on, like, who you're playing with, because it's a social game. So it's not like the game intrinsically is going to do those things by itself, right?
How they run it. Yeah. Similar with friendship, you know. Friendship isn't intrinsically a playful, fun thing. Again, that's false.
It's gotta be the right vibe.
You can't just give people the idea that they're your friend, so then everything they do is playful and fun.
Well, that's the thing that comes up on, like, D&D forums all the time, is people being like, hey, so I have this problem where, like, there's someone at my table who I just, like, hate, or, like, who hates me. You know, our relationship is, like, obviously so dysfunctional, where it's like, okay, well, like, there's this common refrain of, like, no D&D is better than bad D&D. Do you know what I mean? Like, I personally believe no D&D is better than bad D&D. Yeah. Because... especially for how personal and, like, evocative a role-playing game can get. Yeah. It is so frustrating to then go into that space of, like, imaginative vulnerability, whatever, and then have an experience that's, like, antisocial in that way and feels antagonistic. You know, it's like...
that can, like, ruin...
this sucks. What the fuck? I think there's certain kind of conflicts that are, like, very functional to play out in D&D. Sure. And there's certain kinds of things that are, like, But that's just people. You get more than one person in a room, you're going to have conflict.
You're going to have conflict. That's how it goes. You have to figure out how to navigate.
What do we have for time, sound guy?
About an hour.
Right. Well, do you have closing thoughts about friends? How many of us have them?
I mean, genuinely consider that you are someone who is... like, think about what it means to be friends with you.
It's great.
Yeah. But
I'm a fun friend, I think.
Yeah, I feel like that's a prompt of, like, what do you think it's like to be friends with you? And then maybe, like you're saying, think about the different genres of friendship. Do you see what kind of different genres of friendship you have? Like, where do you feel like you don't feel connected or seen? You know, what kind of friendships are you in need of?
I will say, amidst the panini, I definitely am like, probably being friends with me is very mysterious, because it's so hard for me to keep in communication when I'm not, like, out and about and seeing people as part of my routines of being alive and going places. Yeah. But, I mean, I think that question of, like, what does it like to be friends with you, and what does it mean to you to be a friend? Yeah. Like, what's the thing? And then look at those two lists and see if they line up.
There's some compare and
like,
contrast.
See if that looks kind of the way that you want it to look.
Yeah. And, like, think about just being creative. I mean, like, again, and attachments. I think about the episode of Avatar: Last Airbender where he has to learn to like let go of his attachment to Katara.
Literally. And he's like, I won't.
I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, that's kind of the thing that one has to be able to do to really have true friendship is to... I think there's also that book, A Little Life, in the quote or something like, maybe friendship is a choice that you make every day, is waking up and choosing that person again and again, actively.
Well, that's what people say about love. I think that's... It's true of intimacy, I think, of all kinds. It's like, you know, to me, the measure of intimacy is like, how big of a conflict can we have before I give up on you? You know what I mean? Like, how big of a fight can I tolerate, or disagreement or whatever can I tolerate before I'm like, it's not even worth talking to you about this. Goodbye. Fare thee well. Now, again, I personally am a runner and a track star, so my threshold for that is relatively low. But I'm also a Cancer Venus, so once I'm locked in, I'm pretty locked in. You know what I mean?
And you have to temperature that, because some people, it's like you might have a higher threshold for it, but you definitely should have left. You know? Yeah. So it's like, just because you have the threshold, you know, that's the inner work piece of like, oh yeah, I have the threshold for this. So how am I going to communicate this differently if I have the threshold for this, so that I don't end up just being like, I can take it.
I was going to say, because as we've discussed before, I will throw up if I am in an environment I shouldn't be in.
Your body is doing you so many good favors.
Out of here. You know, it feels bad, a lot of the things my body is doing, but I do recognize that it's like, it's really...
It's helping
It is communicating.
Your body is
very
an alarm
strongly.
System.
My body's an alarm system.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's going off.
It keeps in score and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you? Any final thoughts?
I have been replaying Final Fantasy X. So I guess spoilers for Final Fantasy X.
Spoiler alert.
But that game is, I mean, like a lot of like JRPGs, it's built around like you build a party, and like the game is really relationship driven. In addition to like the fun combat things, it's like it's really about the, you know, inner relationships between these party members. It's a very sentimental story, and ultimately in that game, what's posited is that friends are the people you kill God with. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a really beautiful sentiment of... Friends are who you like, kill what God is... With. I think, again, going back to that idea of, like, on the spectrum of friendship, the deepest kinds of relationships, like, the most intimate kind of relationship, like, who are the people who you're, like, in the face of, like... I mean, everything. The void, the void. Everything and nothing. It's like in the face of all of it and none of it. You know what I mean? Who is the person that I want to be kind of by my side, being like, fuck this, let's kill God. Yeah. Which is also a great theme of D&D games, you know? It's like, friends are the people you kill God with. And I think that's beautiful. Right. In my language, you don't say I love you. You say let's kill God together. Let's kill and I God think that's together. Beautiful.
Next Valentine's Day. I'll put that in a card.
Wow, how is this the second episode where we talked about Nietzsche? So
maybe it says something about us and our philosophy.
No. Oh no.
We have a little. He wasn't. I mean,
it's a different kind of killing
wrong.
God, but
yeah, different. We're talking about making friends. He was not talking about that. No, he wasn't
talking about making friends. He was talking about some bullshit intellectual exercise.
Yeah.
We're talking about like who's like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Beat in your heart.
Who's that?
You carry it with you.
Can you get that? Yeah. Who's that?
Who's that? Who's pumping in your blood?
You know?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like, who are the iconic friends of, like, who's aspirational friendships? Who's friendship goals?
I mean, people always say like Velma and Louise, Laverne and Shirley, but I don't know if they're actually friendship
these
goals.
Like odd couple.
Yeah. It's a real friendship.
And the Golden Girls ladies are bitches.
True, they are bitches.
It is fun, though.
These are pop culture ideas, though. There's probably like actually historical.
I mean, again, TV shows are not the place to look for your related. They are the most conflict-driven. Come on, come on. We gotta
think of historical figures.
We gotta think of something. They were friends. They were best friends. And roommates.
Yeah, Emily Dickinson's best friend.
Besties.
Yeah. I should look that up, and then I can bring it back next time and be like, so I looked this up, and I found out these are some really rocking friendships. History.
Well, I mean, we do look like the friends from Revolutionary Girl Utena, but our relationship's
we
not
do.
like that.
No,
it's
it's
not.
not.
Like that. Not like that at all.
No. We have to do that cosplay though, or Halloween or something.
No, I know it's
unreal.
too. It's too on the nose. It's too on the nose.
We don't have to do anything.
I mean, literally, when I met you, I was like, "Are you doing like a Utena thing? Like, is that what this is?
I truly was like,
is that what your vibe is? Like,
no. It is.
I mean, yes, it is.
That's who I mean, I am that, and just not trying. I
remember watching the first episode, and she's like,
oh
"I want to wear the boys'
God.
uniform," and you were like,
"Hello." It's that femboy prince look.
And that's exactly what her entire storyline is. She's like, I'm a prince. I'm a prince, so I can save girls.
Incredible.
Amazing.
It's fun. It's Joan of
Then
Arc.
it gets real not fun towards the end.
I know, I need to watch it.
No, don't actually. Just keep
keep
this pristine memory of it in your mind
No.
before it gets real dark towards the end.
And I can't wait to do the costume. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, happy Ides of March.
Happy Ides of
Watch
March.
your back.
Yeah, your friends will kill you. Or you can have cool friends.
Yeah, I mean, say I love you to the people who you kill God with today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just take a moment. I think today's a great day to sit and think about if you have any fake bitches in your life that you should cut out. You know what I mean? Like, watch your back.
Pull some cards.
Come on.
You know?
Check things out. Sit and reflect.
Yeah.
Just take a couple minutes.
Are you the fake bitch?
Run through your contacts. You know what I mean?
Look at yourself.
All right. Well,
that's all, folks.
Yeah, that is all, folks. Are we gonna have a?
We have an outro.
We have an outro. So then that's
it. You did what I did with the intro. Break.
You did it.
Yay!
This episode, baby.
Yay!
Thanks for listening to another episode of Emotional Labor. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. We love hearing from our listeners, so shoot us a message at hey, that's hey with 3 Y's, at emotionallabor.co. You can also follow us on Instagram at e.mo.shun.al.lay.bor to keep up with our latest episodes and projects. Until next time.